Hi, I'm Amy Baldwin, and I'm with Laurie Hazard, and we're going to talk about imposter syndrome. Laurie, I'm going to tell you why this topic came up. You've been helping me kind of get at the root of why students aren't doing things in my class, like turning stuff in, doing their homework. And I think through some of the motivational interviewing that I've been doing with them, I am getting some of them who are admitting to feeling like an imposter on campus. And that is why they don't turn stuff in. They don't want to be found out. My words, not theirs. And so I think it's important to name it, claim it, and share it with parents and families because they may not be aware that their student is that first of all, there's a phenomenon this is,
hmm
and it's very common, and that their student might be suffering from it. So, do you mind defining imposter syndrome for us?
the seminal article that was written about imposter syndrome by Peggy McIntosh at Wellesley College, and it was called "Feeling Like a Fraud." And so I think sometimes we feel like, the old, and I'm dating myself here, but parents and families might understand this reference. The old Stuart Smalley of Saturday Night Live asking himself the question, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? And then he says, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and damn it, people like me. So I think it's that whenever anybody embarks on a novel situation or does something new, it's not unusual for self-doubt to kind of flood in and to question your capabilities. And that's sort of the root of imposter syndrome when we have those moments of self-doubt and insecurity and questioning what we call in psychology our self-efficacy, our can-do. Can I do this?
Mhm.
Do I have the abilities to do it? And I think particularly for traditional age students, when they're in that adolescent stage of development and peers really have a big influence over our experience, what students tend to do is look at the person next to them and say, uh-oh, I wonder if I'm as good as the people that are sitting to the left of me and the right of me. And so what makes us thrive as human beings is that sense of belongingness and acceptance. And imposter syndrome kind of messes that up because it makes us ask the question, should I be here?
Mhm.
Um, so
Yeah.
it's exacerbated during the first year until students figure out how they fit in academically, socially, emotionally. We can go through the gamut.
Yeah. And honestly, it may pop its head later on, especially if you go to graduate school, you get into a prestigious, program, or you land a job, even if it's a dream job, and you think, oh my gosh, do I really belong? These people seem to really know what they're talking about. One of the things that I wanted to talk about too with this, because I think it's important that families kind of understand the lingo of what we talk about. And I should have known you would know what the seminal article was of it. We should have just let you start on all of that. But it seems like I see it pop up in behaviors. So, and I'm probably, ascribing some behaviors to it, but the conversations I've been having seem to support that, students are feeling like they're not good enough. And if I answer a question in class and I get it wrong, or it's not as good as someone else, or it's not as good as the professor wanted, then they're going to know that I am not worthy of being here. And I definitely have been seeing it in students submitting work. So, um, how obviously there can be some negative uh, behaviors associated with it, if not just the mental stress of it and worried about it. But what can parents and families do to help students if they feel like that might be an issue that they're
Yeah,
facing?
I mean, I think as an educator, I share my own story of this. And I remember when I was in high school, I was in an honors English class and we read The Old Man and the Sea. And we were talking about the Christian symbolism in The Old Man and the Sea. And students are raising their hands saying, like, oh, yeah, like when the old man was dragging the mast of the sailboat, it symbolized Christ dragging the cross. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, wow, that went right over my head. And I thought, I don't belong in this class. So I think sharing your own stories of when you felt like that to norm it, because it happens, as you pointed out, to all of us at every age and stage, graduate school, when we get a new job. Um, the two of us are presenting at a conference next week. I'll have that moment of what gives me the right to be standing up here talking about this stuff. So
Right.
everybody has that, moment. So I think the antidote to imposter syndrome is developing um, what we call self-advocacy skills, that ability to ask for help and to understand that we all have those feelings, and to kind of be courageous enough to say, you know what, I'm a little lost here. And you know what, your peers in your first year classes, if you're the one that raises your hand and says, hey, I'm confused, they're going to be sitting there thinking, oh my god, thank god she pointed out the confusion, because I was too embarrassed to. So you could be thinking of it as doing your peers a favor if you put yourself out there to hold yourself up to be the one that needs a little extra help or asks the question, or because
Yeah.
we're all feeling that way to a certain extent.
And do you think parents and families could also encourage a student to get to know the professor, get to know whoever the leader of the group is, and maybe even share in private, hey, I'm struggling a little bit with this, or I'm not quite sure if I've got this right.
Yeah, I think
Because
that parents and families should say that's the beauty of office hours,
yes.
because on every syllabus and every college class, typically the professor will have their office hours indicated on the syllabus. So if the student doesn't feel comfortable in front of the group
Mhm.
expressing concerns about challenges or confusion, that's where the student can go one-on-one to talk to their professor during office hours, and um, that will help build their confidence if they're having those um imposter syndrome or feeling like a fraud feelings.
Yeah. And I think that the last thing that I would want to share that for parents and families is, if you feel like your student is struggling with this, or just having a conversation, have you ever heard of this? It's pretty common. Have you ever felt like this on campus? But also reminding them that they belong on that campus, they belong in those classrooms. Those are the kinds of conversations I've been having with those students that I've noticed are struggling with a little bit. Is we welcomed you in as the freshman class, and so therefore that's our commitment to believing that you belong here. And don't question that at all, because you would not be here. You would not have been admitted had we not felt you had the potential to grow and thrive. So maybe reinforcing that, if you have a kid at Harvard, for example, or I don't know, Harvard wouldn't have accepted you if they didn't think that you could make it. So they believed in you. I believe in you, that kind of thing. Well, good. A little psychology, dose of psychology for some families, that can hopefully help students who are suffering from that, and do know that all students at some point have that feeling. They
Mhm.
figure out ways to get around it. All right. Thanks.